So when you're starting, a big thing is you can't be afraid to accept help. And the people who have the best help are the people who've been through what you're trying to go through. Small business. Don't hesitate to reach out to other small businesses. Like we met Wentworth and a couple other people, LaFontaine. And these are people who were just like giving us tips. And to this day, they just give us more support. Like, hey, I see y'all, keep going. Let me know if you truly need anything. Even if you sign up for a competition and you don't win, network and learn, because it's never a loss. The Poké Bowl was formally created as an LLC back in 2017. When we had no idea on how to formally start a business, what it meant to sell a sushi bowl, anything like that. What happened was, at the time, we had friends who went straight from Beecher and they went to Los Angeles straight out of high school back in like 2010. And he was already out there for a minute, our best friend. So he's like, hey, you're in the hip hop, you're in the rap, why don't you come out here, shoot your first music video? So we're like, okay, we're gonna go to California.
And so we go out there, we're out there for, I think, 4 days altogether? So we went 4 days. Most of our time there was spent shooting a music video. So we really didn't have time to do much of anything outside. And that was our first time in LA. And so we come out the last day. And me and Jerron were just like, well, we gotta be on a plane in like, I don't know, 6 hours. So we were like, we should go back to Venice Beach. And we just got an Uber and just went by ourselves. And then I'm like, we haven't had any seafood. So we go on Google and type in fresh seafood near us, and we find this place, this real small hole-in-the-wall poke spot that popped up. We didn't find it yet. It just pops up on Google. We had never had poke before then, but it said it was like seafood. So we get to walking, and we're walking through back alleys, and there's a bunch of people. We went outside and sat down and ate it, and after the first bite he took, he's like, we gotta bring this back to Flint. And I'm like, he full of air most times. So I'm just like, oh, okay, we'll bring this back to Flint. We'll see.
Because you downplay everything. Your original idea is you're gonna downplay it yourself. So I'm just thinking in my head, man, that's stupid. You got Flint fish bowl, nobody gonna buy that. What happened was, at the time, and I was interning with Congressman Dan Kennedy actually in the building, I was just telling him that I wanted to get involved in the city. It wasn't really about the money. I wasn't getting paid as an intern. I wanted to get involved somehow, and then my sister-in-law, Kiara Dotson, and she's like, hey, you used to start coming to these community meetings. So it's like the third meeting I went to, a couple people went in the back that I've never seen before, and she's like, hey, Jerron, that's Flint soup. She's like, you really need to go back there and tell them your fishbowl idea. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go talk to him. I knew in the back of my head I was gonna leave. I had no intentions of going, but that's part of getting out your comfort zone, and just, that's the only way you can get opportunity. So I go back there and I sit down and I'm like, hey, she's just like, yeah, your sister-in-law said you have an idea. And I was like, okay, yeah, I got the stupid idea. It's a fish bowl. She was like, what? I'm like, I went to California for the first time, me and my brother, and we found this fish bowl idea called Poké. Her eyes lit up. It was like, oh my God, I'm actually part Japanese. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, and I know what Poké is. She's like, how in the world? I'm like, yeah, me and my brother are like really trying to figure out a way to bring it here, make it tangible.
So we ended up winning a Flint soup. We win, 3 of them, and we end up getting to another Flint soup, where Adrian and James were partnering with Habitat for Humanity. And the winner of their pitch competition would get the chance to be a part of what they called a live work program. And so they were gonna have a new building and have living space upstairs. The business commercial space will be downstairs.
So around that time, 2018, so now it's like, okay, we gotta get real, we got a building coming. We were working with Nick Custer. And so that's when we got to a point with him, and he's like, hey man, I don't know if you heard 100K yet, or David over there is a really good guy. You should take your idea over there. You're kind of food-based. I don't know what they do with food marketing, but go and take a look. So I'm like, okay. So I stopped in here, everybody's friendly, they brought me in. They told me about the intake form and all. I filled that out. I filled out the form, like, okay, this is a place to go for ideas. So COVID was coming. So that's when we had to pivot from a standpoint of waiting to get into our building to go mobile and try to sell wholesale. But through networking and relationships previous to COVID, we're like, hey, we did a pop-up here at local grocer.
But once the pandemic hit, me and Jerron went back and we were like, I think we can package these bowls in a way where we can put them in a cooler. So could we just sell them in the grocery store? Because, during the pandemic, everything was closed except grocery stores and fast food restaurants.
Yeah, a lot of it too, putting your product out there or your service for free. That's gold. One thing, if they're a retailer and they have your product and they have to take a loss on something that doesn't sell, anyone will take anything free. So if you give it to them free to sell and they can recoup everything back, it just makes it more likely they'll come and then get a contract. So that's where we figure out how it's like a start to retail business works a lot of the time. A lot of it is being able to just go straight forward and ask.
And I think another thing as far as learning experiences go from this, once the pandemic had hit, just like the rest of the world, we didn't know what we were going to do, especially small businesses. And we basically had to, I just heard this slogan the other day, a pandemic pivot, where we just stood right there and were like, okay, how can we reshape our business to still make some kind of money? And so that's when we ended up taking that, a restaurant idea and just learning how to package it and put it into a grocery store. And I think that's a testament to just the perseverance, and things come at you all the time. And that's the thing, like this entire journey has just been like one thing after another, one problem after another that has to be solved. Some have physical results, some don't. And I think sometimes we get like stuck in the grind of like, you're solving all of these little issues that have no physical result, so they don't seem as big or as tangible as other things. So I do think me and Jerron have learned that, like he said earlier, no loss is a loss. Even when we lost the pitch competitions, it wasn't a loss because we gained network.
Our current brick and mortar location is located on 1214 University Avenue. It's right outside downtown Flint, Michigan, not too far from 100K. So yeah, we'd love for you to stop by, come check us out. We're looking to have that grand opening sometime in July, August. Again, right now you can find us at 2 grocery stores. That's the local grocer, which you mentioned earlier. It's right outside downtown Flint on MLK, or Oliver T's and Grand Blanc. It's on the other side of town. So we wanted to get both sides and then kind of draw the talent and experience right here to downtown Flint. You can make it. You can come out of Flint where we don't even have the best water, and you can sell fish bowls, and people will really be here to support you. They were like, literally, the network is start with your family, your community, organizations like 100K, Habitat, where it's literally, that's what they're here for. So you just can't be afraid to reach out. Before you know it, you'll be here in our spot giving your story. I appreciate everything that 100K is doing. I see 100K out there in the trenches. I call it trench work. You're out there in the Burston Field House, Latin Center on the east side, and then you're right here as a hub for anybody who's willing to come right here to downtown. Right when Poké Bowl was in the first stages, I was afraid to come here. But when I came in and I actually filled out the intake form, it was like, wow, it's a place for people with ideas. Like it legitimately is. So I was like, this is different, but it's exactly what the city of Flint needed. And the Poké Bowl is proud to have people like 100K out here and putting the work in. So we appreciate your organization.